Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Dallas County, and I'm here with Timbrel Hildebrand reporting from Crowley, Texas, and we just had our first snow day here in northern Texas in a while. How was that?
Oh, it was really nice. It was very pretty.
Yeah. And so, what did you do in the snow? Did you make a snowman or snow angels or anything like that?
Me and my siblings went in and just kind of romped around and threw snowballs at each other.
Ooh, snowball. Okay, that sounds really fun.
It
But
was.
yeah, but now it is going. But hopefully we,
Alas,
yeah, hopefully it'll come back soon. So
maybe. Who knows?
yeah, who knows? So what movie did we what are we gonna talk about today?
It was Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, right?
Right. So this is gonna be our second film that was made by Robert Stevenson. The first one being Mary Poppins, uh, which I believe he made this one after Mary Poppins. So have you ever seen this film before?
I have not. This was the first time I'd ever seen it.
Okay, what would you say? What's your first impressions of it?
Um, it was a little weird. I think it was a little odd.
It was a bit odd. Can you tell that this was like post Walt Disney era Disney?
I mean, it felt kind of like a Mary Poppins wannabe, I
Oh,
suppose.
okay. I guess it's okay if they're trying to rip off themselves.
I guess.
So a little backstory about the production of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. So it's first started off in 1943 when English author Mary Norton published her first ever children's book called The Magic Bed Knob. So Variety reported in August 1945 that Walt Disney had purchased the film rights to that particular book. Norton then published another book called Bonfires and Broomsticks in 1947, and the two children's books were then combined into Bed Knobs and Broomsticks in 1957. So during negotiations for the film rights to Mary Poppins with P.L. Travers in 1961, a film adaptation of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks was suggested as an alternative project. When the negotiations stalled, Disney instructed the Sherman Brothers to begin working on that project, the Bed Knobs and Broomsticks one. So during a story conference with producer Bill Walsh and writer Don DeGrady, as the Sherman Brothers were singing the song Eglantine, Walt fell asleep in his chair. So he fell asleep when he was being demonstrated some of the songs. So when Disney purchased the rights to Mary Poppins, the project was shelved. So in spring 1966, the Sherman Brothers resumed their works on Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, but the project was shelved again due to the similarities with Mary Poppins, as the Sherman Brothers' contract with the Disney Studios was set to expire in 1968. They were contracted by Bill Walsh in their office to start work on the film. Then Walsh, DeGrady, and the Sherman Brothers reassembled to work on a storyline for several months. Although there was no plan to put the film into production at the time, Walsh promised the Shermans that he would call them back to the studio and finish the project, which he eventually did in November 1969. Throughout 1970 and 1971, the Sherman Brothers reworked the musical composing for the film. The song Beautiful Bryony was originally written for Mary Poppins, for when Mary spins a compass, sending the bank's children into several exotic locations, but was later used for this film, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. And that is the story of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So if you're kind of wondering why this is kind of like a Mary Poppins ripoff, it's because it is. Because it was supposed to be a project that they were gonna do if they couldn't get the rights to Mary Poppins, but they did, and I guess they did both. What are your first impressions of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
I mean, it does very much feel like a Mary Poppins ripoff. You just got Angela Lansbury. I mean, you even have a carryover actor from that movie. I can't remember his name. Thomas something.
Oh yeah, it's
playing,
David Tomlinson.
Yeah, he was playing the professor or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say the movie was bad necessarily. It's just I don't think it was really my cup of tea. It just kind of felt a little all over the place. Since it felt like it was kind of trying to, like a lot of things were happening at once in this movie. Like you have the cutesy kind of kid stuff, but also like World War II is going on, and then you have like this animated sequence, and you get the magic stuff, which is fine, but then suddenly they're in the animated world, which ends up not even mattering in the plot, and then suddenly the Germans are attacking England. It's like a lot of stuff is happening in this movie.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you can definitely break it down to multiple sections in that regard. You know that they were actually originally wanted Julie Andrews to play the character of Price in the film.
Oh wow!
That
would have made it a proper ripoff.
Yeah, but then Julie Andrews was like, "Can you let me think about it?" And then they're like, "We don't have time. Get Angela Lansbury in." And then Julie Andrews called them back and was like, "I'll do it." And then they were like, "We already cast somebody else." So
I did like Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, you think she did a good job in her performance?
Oh yeah, I love Angela Lansbury. I thought she was good in this movie. The movie felt a little bit topsy turvy.
Mm-hmm. And also the first musical number did not come in until 20 minutes into the film. So
it wasn't 20 minutes. You had the soldiers singing at the very beginning.
Yeah, I guess if you count that whole thing.
Honestly, that was probably my favorite song, with the old guys singing about how they're defending the home front. I liked that one.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was my favorite.
Was it because it was the shortest?
No. I don't know. I liked it. I don't know why. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. I like how none of their helmets fit. Some of the straps are all up in their mouth. Oh, someone's at the door. So my favorite song in this film was actually what is it? What's it called? It's called Portobello Road. I loved Portobello Road.
Oh, that was an interesting song.
Yeah. I like how they start singing and then there's a 5-minute dance sequence in between.
That did feel very old school musical.
Yeah. And then they all start
random, you've got the different styles of music happening all at once. It was interesting.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch.
I'm guessing there weren't many Arabic or Scottish or I'm guessing I'm not really sure. There were a bunch of, I mean, it's fair to say that the groups dancing in that sequence were caricaturized. But yeah, you had I think they were supposed to be Arabic men who were dancing, and then you had Scottish, and then you had Jamaican. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think though they were Indian.
Which ones? The first ones that danced with the turbans?
The ones with the turbans. I believe they were Indian because I believe because India at the time was occupied by the British.
Oh, that's a good point. That makes a little bit more
makes
sense.
So, yeah. So, would you actually recommend this film to anybody, wanting to who's curious about it?
I mean, it's an interesting enough movie. I just personally wasn't super blown away by it, just because I don't know. It felt place for me, but what it was. I mean, I guess if it didn't feel so much like it was a Mary Poppins ripoff, it would have been a little bit more enjoyable, but it did feel like a lot of things were happening at once, so the story wasn't necessarily solid.
Okay.
I don't know.
So what would you say to help fix the film?
How to fix the film? Oh,
yeah.
Gee, I don't know.
Would you say
That's a good question. I don't know how you fix the film. I guess to fix the film, honestly, I think that you'd need to cut out that sequence that's animated because it really serves like no purpose.
Okay.
Because they go there to find like the special star thing or whatever, and they get back and the little boy's like, "Oh, it was in the book the whole time, but you didn't ask me," you know. So that by the end of that, I was kind of like, okay, well that seems a little dirty. Like as an audience member, I felt a little cheated, you know.
Yeah. And
you had these proud British people referring to soccer as soccer, which they would never call it soccer. They'd call it football.
yeah, I know one of the kids said football, but that was
one
it.
One of the kids said football, but then everyone else was saying soccer. I'm like, oh, no proper Britishman would ever call it soccer.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too when I was rewatching the film. So yeah, I don't know why they had a random animated sequence in it. Mainly because they probably thought like Mary Poppins had an animated sequence in it. This one should have one too. That was probably their mindset. And plus, like that animated sequence, if you look at the poster, that was like very prominently held in the posters. Is the animated sequence.
Well, I will say that it was really nicely animated. It was interesting how the people interacted with the animation. I do think it looks very good. It was interesting because clearly this was a good bit of time. This was a decent amount of time after Mary Poppins, so they had time to kind of work on that craft a little bit. So the animation itself was still really good. Like the hand-drawn stuff, it always looks great. And it was interesting to watch it interact with the live-action actors. So that was really cool. It was very colorful and interesting.
Yeah, would you like to see like a bit more of that?
Like hand-drawn animation?
Well, like this entire sequence is like, what if that sequence was like the entire movie?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know because the story still felt a little bit wobbly. I don't know. It just felt like a lot of things were happening.
Yeah, I think like a good way to say that this film would have been a lot better if they had that one sequence on the island be the entire film, and their entire goal of the film was getting the star of Astaroth.
That might have been interesting.
Yeah. So I think that would have been a lot better if it was like, it could be all animation, it could be that live action animation hybrid as well. Either way, I think it would have been a pretty interesting film if it was just them trying to get the star of Astaroth, and then them realizing that it was the real star of Astaroth was the friendships we learned along the way.
Yes,
which is basically what they did in this film.
I guess, yeah.
Because the entire sequence, like, because the star just disintegrated. And apparently it was in the children's book the whole time.
Yeah, I was a little bit ticked off about that. I'm like, seriously? Y'all didn't know it was in the book? Really?
Yeah. And then so also what also leads to the sequence where the Nazis are trying to invade England, and then she animates like a bunch of armor and stuff. What do we think about that sequence?
Okay, that sequence I thought was really cool. Like, you have to give props to the special effects workers in this film because, like, all of that, there was no CGI or anything like that. So it's really impressive to see how they made all those, like, all that armor move like it was just the practical effects of it, which was really interesting, like how you had them take off their helmets and there was no head and they'd shake the bullets out of their helmet. It was interesting. I thought it was pretty impressive how extensive, like, the practical effects were in that sequence.
Right. I think that was also my favorite sequence in the film. Do you think they did that using like strings and such?
Honestly, because I was trying to like look for it and see like how they were doing all of that animation stuff, whether it was that scene where they were just doing it in the house with household objects, or when the bigger scene when it was suits of armor. I think it was probably a collection of. I think it had a lot to do with like clever editing as well as clever camera placement, so that they could hide whatever was making the suit move. But I mean, I'm guessing wires, which were probably used. Like, it looked like stop motion to me, but I guess they could have used stop motion in some cases. But it didn't look like stop motion to me.
Yeah, I don't think it was stop motion because I can tell it was going way too smoothly to
Yeah.
to be stop motion. And it looks like here that it actually won an Oscar for its special effects.
I think they deserved that. It was very impressive. I don't know how they did it.
Yeah,
Or I don't know how they did a lot of it.
yeah. So we got to give credit where credit is due. Special visual effects team, you did great job back in 1972,
I did.
1971. So what would you say? What did you think about that whole sequence on Under the Sea? That whole Under the Sea sequence?
And that was fun, I guess. It was interesting. I thought it was funny that the wide shot of Mrs. What's her name? The lady and the man who were dancing together. The wide shots were clearly like stunt performers, not the actual actors. It was pretty obvious. But I just think that was interesting how they were flipping around and stuff like that. It looked, I mean, especially given the time period, it looked very, fluid and accurate. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, what did you think about that whole notion about magic? How magic plays into this film?
What do you mean?
Like, I know that they were kind of like, oh, anybody can do magic, even this brown guy when he turned himself into like a rabbit, if he just believed.
Yeah, I mean, it fits kind of the Disney formula, I'd say.
Yeah. And apparently, like, because I know what his goal was, he wanted to have Price be his assistant.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that scene where, like, he's asleep at the train station or whatever, and he has, like, a vision of her walking towards him on the railroad rails with her scantily dressed, that was creepy. I did not like that.
Oh, yeah, what was up with that?
That was not okay. Like, I thought, I mean, I could tell that they were about to do a vision or something, but I just thought it was going to be her. But then she was in, like, that skanky for the 1970s, I suppose. Not skanky necessarily by today's standards. But like, she was real scantily dressed and walking down. It felt, like, very inappropriate to me. I'm like, that's not cool. It felt very objectifying.
Yeah,
I did not like it. I know that's probably not what they were going for, but I didn't like it. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly their intention was for that, because it didn't really fit in anywhere.
No, it didn't. That's why I didn't like it.
Yeah. And then he just never brings it up again, which is probably for the best. It's probably best not to tell anyone.
It felt like the equivalent of, like, a guy having a dirty dream about a girl he's interested in.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
so
my
I
gosh.
didn't like that. So I'm like, get your mind out of the gutter, Brown. She's a woman with a brain.
Yeah, you know what? I want to see that scantily clad brain. Am I right?
Nathaniel.
What?
What the heck?
Oh, I wanted to say, like, I just wanted to see her intelligence, is what I meant.
Her intelligence. I see.
Yeah. So, like, yeah. So, yeah, that was, I don't know what the director was thinking of that day, that time. Maybe.
I can tell you exactly what the director was thinking of that day.
Okay. So, yeah. So, like, going back to that whole thing where he's like, he wants her to be like his assistant. He had like another poster of another person, and I don't know what that was supposed to be. I wonder what that story was, whatever happened to her.
I think the ideal was that he used to be like a stage performer or something like that, and that was like from his glory days. That was probably like an old assistant of his.
Ah, okay. Yeah, and then he basically became a street performer.
Yeah, now that was actually kind of cool, like how his case turned into a desk and then it popped open. That was real neat, real cool mechanics. I love the little practical stuff. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, maybe I kind of want one for myself. I wonder if they sell those on Amazon.
Yes, me too.
So like, what about the kids? What do we think about the kids?
The kids actually usually like a lot of times like when you don't cast properly, like kid characters, especially in movies like these, can be really really annoying. And I do think Charlie was a little bit annoying, but I think he was supposed to be annoying. He was kind of a punk, you know.
Right.
He was giving me real like Edmund from the Chronicles of Narnia vibes.
Yeah.
Like Edmund from the first book. But I thought that the kids were actually okay, but I did feel like at events, like very quickly, like at first they kind of like seemed like they were going to be main characters, but then quickly they kind of became scenery, you know, because it was all about Angela Lansbury and the dude, you know, who was being Professor Brown or whatever. But I thought they were interesting. I thought that the girl was like, she stuck out to me. Her performance stuck out to me because it wasn't very over the top it wasn't as over the top as you would expect. Like it felt a little bit more truthful than most kid performances of that era.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuck out to me. She didn't have a huge number of lines, but like she was very understated for the time period.
Yeah.
And I thought the little brother was really cute, Paul. Like their little accents were super cute. I didn't mind them at all, but they did feel kind of like scenery eventually, because it kind of like felt like they were just kind of coming along for the ride. For some reason, only the little kid could make the knob work, you know. So I don't know. I felt like they could have done more with the kids.
Yeah. So you're saying that Cindy O'Callaghan, who plays Carrie, is probably the best actress out of the three children?
I don't know. I think they all did well for what their character was. Like, Charlie was kind of a punk. The actor playing him brought across the punkness very well. The one, I thought, honestly, all of them stuck out to me because I thought they were pretty good for their age and for the era.
Yeah.
So I thought they were all pretty good for what they were doing.
Right. What did you think about Charlie being all like, "Oh, I don't believe it," nuh-uh, and then and then he goes into the bed, and then they go make it to London, and he's like, "I told you it wouldn't work. I still don't believe it."
Yeah, that was a little odd. I'm like, dude, it just teleported. What do you mean you don't believe it?
Oh, I mean, like it just happened. So like, I think the whole thing with Paul and him having to use the bed knob seems to be like the writer's way to try to justify them being on the trip, like the entire story, like at all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Because other than that, there's really no reason for them to be there.
Yeah, that is kind of what it felt like. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah. So do you think we should just cut the kids entirely?
I mean, I liked the kids. I just feel like they could have done a little bit more with them.
Right. So like, let's go back to like the very beginning, the very long title sequence. What do we think about that?
Oh, okay. Full disclosure, I skipped through that.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't really want to watch because I know these older movies have really long title sequences, and I thought I'd just get to the movie. I'm so sorry. It's really cool, the illustration.
I did the same thing too, because I remember thinking like, this is like a 5-minute long title sequence. I'm just gonna like skip it. But I do really like the old medieval artistry and stuff.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you watch the title sequence, they actually do that chant, that spell chant that Price uses to resurrect the armor and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they do like a little Gregorian chant thing in the title sequence of that. So yeah. Anything else you'd like to add about Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
I mean, I feel like I've only said mean things about it. It wasn't a bad movie, I wouldn't say. I just say that they probably should have tried to make it their own thing instead of trying to make it Mary Poppins plus World War II intrigue. You know, they probably needed to pick one thing or the other. It was a lot of stuff going on in this movie.
Right. Should they make?
But
Yeah. Should,
Angela Lansbury's still great. Like, the performers in it are good. The movie itself, I feel like, doesn't quite live up to the performers, that's all.
yeah. So, what should we get? A live action remake with a live action island sequence?
Oh, my word. I don't know.
I think that would be fantastic.
Wonderful!
Yeah, and then so like yeah, so that's Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, which was made by Robert Stevenson. He made same guy who made Mary Poppins and It Shows. Uh, yeah, and then he also has a priest hitting on Price for no reason, and then he disappears.
Was he hitting on her?
I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't.
I wasn't sure, because at first I thought maybe he was hitting on her, but then it seemed like he was just concerned about the children. So,
Right.
I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? He wasn't there for very long anyway.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. Do you think like that whole thing about her being a witch is a very like prominent story beat in the film?
Well, I mean, honestly, think about it, not really. Like, she could have been anybody just using this magic or whatever. I mean, it was kind of important at the beginning, and then they never explained why she needed, like, the top secret spell. Like, they never explained why she needed it.
Right. I think what she wanted was she wanted to attack Germany with it. I think that's
Yeah, but
what it was.
I'm not crazy, right? Like, they never explained why.
Yeah, they kind of never did.
Okay.
They did never explain why, unless she wanted it just in case a German invasion would happen in England, and it just so happens that it did.
Planning on doing a one-woman army, like, take down Berlin or something like that?
Maybe. Who knows? I guess they just forgot.
Yeah, it was interesting, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. And, like, so, like, I don't know if, like, her power comes from herself or just the words within the book. Also, what do you think about that whole, like, backstory about Astaroth and being in the island where he wants animals to be humans or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was another thing. Like, they set up that book guy like he was going to be a bad guy, and then we never saw him again.
Oh, yeah, we never saw him again, and we never saw the knife guy either.
Yeah, that dude who was about to, like, gut a kid with his pocket knife.
Yeah.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, and she was like, "If I saw myself, I had to use me own." And he has this, and that guy with the old guy has this giant Bowie knife.
Yeah, that dude had a bow knife in his desk.
Yeah, it was like something that he used to gut fish with, and it was like super giant. And he was about to like stab a kid with it. Yeah, and then he disappears, and we never see him again. So I guess he wasn't that big of a deal. And then yeah, also I forgot, why did Price give Paul the bed knob again? I forgot.
I'm not sure. Why did she? You don't. I cannot remember.
Oh, I remember. It's to stop them from telling people that she was a witch.
Right.
So
why did she Paul?
I think it was because he had the knob. I guess that's why. Timbrel? Hello?
Nathaniel?
Yes, you there?
Nathaniel?
You're here.
Nathaniel?
Okay, I hear you. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so her thing, Price's thing, was to give the youngest kid like basically something that's equivalent to a car.
I guess, yeah. I mean, better than a car, honestly.
Yeah, but like now he can go wherever he wants, and he wants to go to the jungle for some weird reason.
Well, he's a kid.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know what the jungle is? It's not the best place to be. I mean, it's really humid and it's really hot.
That is true.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Would you recommend this film to anybody?
Honestly, I probably wouldn't.
Okay. What rating would you give it?
I mean, I have to give it credit. I don't think it's a bad movie. I personally didn't like it that much. I think it just wasn't for me. So, I'd give it maybe 6, 7 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah, I would give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah.
That seems fair.
Yeah. Also, I noticed that they also kind of reused assets a couple of times from previous stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, do you remember, like, they used the Goofy scream?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, like, one of the animals in the soccer game got hit, and he was like, like that kind of thing.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to watch it again. Oh, yeah. No, it's okay. We don't have to watch it ever again. So, yeah, that was Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Also, all of the promotional material has that one animation sequence in it. Like it's a prominent thing. It is not. They're lying to you. It's only like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. I would give it a 6 out of 10 as well. I did watch it when I was a bit younger, and I remember I did enjoy it a lot when I was younger. So I'm kind of looking at it through rose-tinted glasses a little bit. But I would give it a 6 out of 10. I would say that it is just okay. I would say that just watch Mary Poppins instead, because it's basically the same thing and it's better. All right, so that's Bed Knobs and Broomsticks for you. We will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of wacky talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.